Beechcroft Art Centre, where I worked at the time, Phil Pennington, who did most of the design work, and myself used to run a 2-week film course every summer, and kids would sign up and they'd come and learn all the technical aspects of filmmaking whilst making a properly scripted film. So we'd go on location, we'd have studio setups, as close to a proper filmmaking experience as we could deliver them. And when the McCann movie was shown, a lot of the people who were involved in that summer's production had seen it and liked it and wanted to have a crack at it themselves. So that's why we did Doctor Who in the first place. Phil is building our Dalek, Daleks. Dalek. Yeah. Where are we getting the materials from?
The majority of the materials are actually coming to us from a place in Portsmouth called the Materials Crafts Bank, which is a sort of a charity organisation. Industrial waste is not dumped there, donated. Sort of timber and usable industrial products are donated to that organisation, and then they just give it out to schools and arts organisations and things like that. You pay a membership fee and away you go.
Right. So what actually are you using for the construction of this?
For the construction, we're actually using what are offcuts from desktops, sort of computer desks and office desks and things like that. That's made of MDF, medium density fibreboard, which again is a kind of reclaimed pulped wood. And I use that A because it's quite strong, B because it's very smooth, but also there is a certain amount of give in it, so that when you come round to the panels here, which are actually twisted, actually sort of rotate and twist through a certain number of degrees, then it will do it without buckling or bending and still look quite smooth. What I found with the bottom parts, the hardest thing initially was actually getting the angles and all the lines and measurements to actually make the base itself. Once that was in place, I then had a length across there and a length across there, and I knew what the height was. Now that piece and its opposite at the other side and the one at the back are actually regular trapeziums. The angles there and there are the same, and the angles there and there are the same, so I could actually do those geometrically. Once I got that, what I then did was cut sections which I could offer up to the sides, and then just drew the shape. Which is cheating a bit, but it's an awful lot easier than actually trying to do it by working out the angles and things like that, which would be so difficult because of the twist of certain pieces. Liz Hodlington over at Ferrum College is producing the Dalek's head, the actual dome piece on top. If I can get that plan. She's actually producing that, and the way in which she's doing it, or the way in which I presume she's doing it, is making a clay model of that particular part, which she will then allow to go leather hard just by leaving it for a few days, and then we will make a plastic vac form of the whole top. And the way in which you do that is you heat a sheet of plastic, lower it over the mould, and then you evacuate the air, you suck the air out so that it pulls the plastic tight around there, and the plastic is heated so that it's almost melted. And then you allow it to dry and pop out the mould, and hey, a Dalek's head. The thing with projects like this is it's the thinking about how it's going to work that actually takes the time. It's actually working out, how's this go? Am I going to do it like that? Am I going to cut it into little strips? Am I going to use one piece? Am I going to make it out of plastic? Am I going to make it out of wood? How am I going to fasten it up? That's the bit that actually takes the time. So when I come round to do the next one, it'll virtually fall together. Or fall apart, you never know.
Welcome back to the workshop some months later.
Soggy git.
The Dalek seems to have come on a little way since last we saw it.
It's coming together. It's been a very, very slow process. Some bits have gone much better than I thought. It's been one of those projects where whichever bit you've done, you've always thought, right, that's the difficult bit over with, only to be proved horribly wrong. And initially I thought this was going to be the really hard bit, and this has actually been the easiest bit of the lot. The dome is the bit that's causing us the most problems at the moment, simply because we had, first of all, problems with getting the sizes of it right. And then we had to make a plaster of Paris mould, which was made 2 weeks ago and has still not dried. So I think we're going to have to come up with a third method of making the dome.
Really put together at all is the collar section there, which is currently awaiting some filling. What we've ended up with is a section that slots into the top of the neck, which is just there, you see, so the collar rings just slot into that central. Looks to me like we're not a million miles away from having a completed lower section, because I believe kicking around somewhere you've got some thin plastic or something which you're going to use for the actual floor bit of the skirt.
Yeah, it's actually in the theatre at the moment, and what it'll be is like a thin leatherette, which will just go between there and then be a quarter of an inch, half an inch off the floor, so that you can't see the casters underneath and things like that.
Or the running feet of the poor little soul who's in there.
Or the Flintstone-like feet of the person who's operating it.
Well, here are the hemispheres, which slot into the skirt of the Dalek, and these in fact are nothing more complicated than ballcocks cut in half.
I bring you greetings from all Daleks.
I'm gonna spend my Christmas with a Dalek and hug him underneath the mistletoe. And if he's very nice, I'll feed him sugar spice and hang a Christmas stocking from his big left toe. And when we both get up on Christmas morning, I'll kiss him on his chromium-plated head and take him in to say hi to Mum and frighten Daddy out of his bed. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Happy Christmas.
Happy Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
To you.
I wish to be your friend. Please may I have some more plum pudding and custard.
I'm gonna spend my Christmas with a Dalek, and if I make him happy, he will stay. You go.
Right, do a spin round sort of about 90
Twinkle
degrees
his
to
eye,
the right.
and then my little Dalek will say, Merry Christmas.
Christmas
Full
tree,
the letters too.
Christmas.
mistletoe,
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
To you. Merry Christmas.
I love you.